it's Book Chick again, and this is Nyx. If you haven't met her yet, if you're new here, that's Nyx. She's in every video. I don't do it on purpose. I'm sure people think that, but I don't. Anyway, this is finally my April wrap-up. I know that we're more than halfway through May, but I was finishing school, so yes, it is what it is. Happy to be done, but now I have a lot more time to spend with you all. So, which I'm really enjoying so far, and a lot more time to read, obviously. So the first book I finished in April. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my April-May TBR, but I think I did. Anyway, it was Fresh Brewed Murder, which was a cozy murder mystery set in Portland, Oregon, actually. And as you can imagine, it is coffee themed, which I absolutely loved. If you know me like personally, then you know that I have worked in coffee for like 3 going on 4 years. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it because I actually enjoy my job at the coffee shop. And it's just a lot of fun. And like I really enjoyed that the terminology was so spot on. Like the author like covered having to, like, we call it dialing in the espresso every morning, so they covered that. They covered like the customer service aspects of like dealing with people who are just like really rude to you and just want their coffee and then they want to leave, and like that's 100% a thing. Like, be nice to your baristas. But I enjoyed that the author included that as well. Also, like the main character is actually the owner of the coffee shop. It's actually like a little like food truck kind of stand that sells coffee and pastries. And so like the main character is the owner. So it talked about like everything that goes into starting your own small business, especially your own small business that is coffee. So like I really enjoy that. Obviously there was a murder. It was one of those cozy mysteries where like there actually is a murder. Like, unfortunately, this is going to be one of those main characters that probably just finds a dead body in every single book. And unfortunately, like, the dead body was like right outside her stand, so obviously she was a suspect. And she actually she wasn't like a foster kid, but like she ran away as a kid a lot, so that didn't really help her situation. And like looking like a murder suspect, they just were like, oh, well, you're obviously unstable, so like you did it. And she's like, why would I don't even know this guy. Like, and they were like, well, he was rude to you that morning. She's just like, I killed him. Okay. But no, and like I totally didn't even see it coming when like they explained who the murderer was. I was like, really? But it kind of made sense. But it was one of those ones where I was like, didn't see that coming. But so good on ya, Emmeline, Duncan. Yeah, this was really good. I got it from NetGalley, but it is like on sale now. I believe you can find it on Amazon, probably at your like local ebook seller for sure. I'm not sure if there are hard copies yet, but I will look into that and I will link them in the description box below. The next book that I read, actually I listened to that one because I was super behind, so I listened to it through Libby. Same thing with this next one. It was the Paris Library, which was really, really good, but like I was so far behind, so I just listened to it. Really, really good. It is set in like during World War II, like the start to the finish, I believe, in Paris. It's called The Paris Library by Janet Charles Skeslien. So since it's in Paris during the war, if you're not aware, Paris was actually occupied by the Germans during the war, so it was a rough time. There was a lot of rationing. There were women were raped. If they weren't raped, then they felt that they needed to sleep with these German soldiers to like be able to survive themselves or like help their families, like, because if you did, then he would give you things like more food and stuff. Yeah, so the main character kind of deals with that kind of stuff. Like, she deals with trying to avoid them, the Germans, and like still keep her job. And her twin brother he's not drafted, he volunteers. So she deals with like him being overseas and like on the front lines, and so like all of that stuff, it doesn't go well. But she is a librarian at the American Library in Paris, and so she uses it, she's always used that library as like a safe space, as an escape, and she continues to do that during the war. And I thought that was really cool. So she talks about like having to memorize the Dewey Decimal System, which I enjoyed because my associate's degree is library science, so I enjoyed all the library aspects in it. It was like super relatable to me, and I loved that. Like, I loved the cozy mystery. Like, they were both really, really relatable. The Paris library is a non-linear timeline, so it flips back and forth between Odil's time during the war and like I believe it's like the 1980s, because it's supposed to be like 40 years later. And so she actually befriends this little girl who lives next door. She moved to America at some point, and now she lives in Minnesota, of all places, and befriends this little girl. Or actually, this little girl kind of befriends her because she's just super interested in Odile. She just seems very exotic and more poised, and she really is interested in that. And so she wants to know more, and she wants to know more about Paris, more about France in general. And when she finds out that Odile lived in Paris during the war, she wants to know a lot more about that, and she has a lot of questions. She learns about some choices that Odile had to make in order to survive, and kind of has to like grapple with that, like figure out how she feels about that herself, and whether or not she still wants to be friends with Odile, and you know, all that kind of stuff. But I think this was like a really good historical fiction, and it had like some really important life lessons. And I gotta tell you, like, I sobbed at the end when I found out something about Odile that she never told anyone. And I was just like sobbing. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like the very ending, like the last paragraph or like the last 5 to 10 minutes is what really made the book for me. Like, yes, 5 stars. The next one was actually another cozy mystery. It was a novella though. It was only about 20 pages long, and it's Shoulder to Die On by Nancy Basil. She actually sent it to me, so thank you so much, Nancy. I'll make sure to tag you in this so that you see it. Thank you so much. It was so cute. I did enjoy, it's like 0.5 in the series, so like it's before even the first book, so it kind of explains some backstory that you'll probably want when the series continues, which I really enjoyed. I did enjoy that it wasn't actually a murder mystery. Like, there was attempted murder, obviously, but no one actually died. And I really enjoyed that, because I feel like in a lot of these cozy mysteries, like, these poor main characters, they're just coming across dead bodies all the time, and that's just so stressful, you know? Like, give them a break. Like, I like that this started out as like, nobody actually died, it was a close call, but they're okay. So basically the main character, I think her name is, what is her name? Crap, I forget. Anyway, I'll leave it in the description box below. Anyway, the main character, I think it's Jen, or the sister is Jen. The main character is invited to girls' weekend with her sister, and she thinks it's just gonna be like her and her sister like catching up, watching chick flicks, eating junk food, you know, all that kind of stuff. And she gets there and discovers that her sister has also invited her like sorority sisters from college, and she's like, great. And they're like the typical like popular girls. Like, they're so gorgeous, and like they look beautiful without even trying, and she's just like, she just feels like not pretty and like kind of frumpy, and like that's really frustrating. It's just she feels even more like an outsider. But they slowly start like bonding and opening up and everything, and they are eating junk food and catching up and everything, and like pretty soon, like the night is starting to wrap up. There's some like amazing news from the main character's sister, and like everyone's so excited, and then they like get into more like spa stuff like you do like stereotypically at girl sleepovers. Like there's champagne, chocolate covered strawberries just cuz, and like hand cream set like kind of thing. And so they all indulge, and pretty soon the main character wakes up and her sister is like sick in the bathroom, like really, really sick. So she rushes her to the hospital, and lo and behold, she's been poisoned. So the whole rest of the novella, they're trying to figure out like who did it and everything. So yeah, but it was really good. Like, it was kind of predictable, but I mean, that is kind of the nature of this genre. I'm not sure if that was the intention of the author, but it was kind of predictable. Like, I was telling my husband about it, and he knew immediately, like, at least what the murder weapon was. And I was like, of course you do, because yeah, you're just stupid smart. Yeah, but that was like a 3-star for me, just because it was kind of predictable. And I found a couple parts like really hard to believe, like how long it took the police to get there. I was like, that's not accurate. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for sending it to me. That one is not on Amazon, so I think you have to like find it somewhere else, maybe on like BookBub or something. I don't know, I'll do some research and I'll link it. The next one that I finished was Good Eggs. I listened to that one as well. A Shoulder to Die On I read because the author sent it to me. But Good Eggs I had to listen to, and it was a 3-star. It was, I would say, like literary fiction or like women's fiction. It was just kind of like one of those novels where it's like everyday life. The main character is Millie, and her son is convinced that she's not like completely with it. Like, she's getting older, and so he's convinced that she needs some help. So because she like keeps getting into trouble and things, like she has a shoplifting problem. She like runs out and like doesn't pay the bill at places and stuff like that, like, and like has been in like multiple non-fatal car accidents, but like bad enough that she gets injured or somebody else does, and he's like really worried for her life. So he decides to hire someone, and basically this new friend is really nice, but has some secrets of her own. And yeah, so like it just seemed, the whole situation seemed like overall sketchy, like from the start, and I was like, something's not right there. But while all of that is happening, also like the grandmother's, Millie's, one of her granddaughters is like going through her own stuff. She's like 16, you know, hormones. It's a weird time. Like, it's just so confusing, and she's finding herself in trouble a lot too. Like, she keeps getting in trouble for doing like pranks and like skipping school, getting in fights with her siblings, and like, so obviously the dad, I think his name is Kevin, is really worried about her too, so he decides to send her to a boarding school like somewhere in town. And so obviously like she's not happy about that, and like tries to run away and stuff, and like befriends the bad girl. It's a whole thing. But that was a 3-star for me. It was okay, but again, I found some things a little bit unbelievable. That's gonna have to be the end of this video, and I'll do a part 2 for the other books that I read. But yeah, so go ahead and hit like and subscribe and watch for part 2.